Today we're making French onion soup, or as they call it in France, onion soup. Traditionally, French onion soup is made with beef broth, but we're making a vegetarian version, so we're going to be infusing a lot of savory flavors from mushrooms and wine and really warm spices to get a savory and umami soup. One of the things that I like most about this soup is that it's really different from how you make traditional French onion soup. It's full of flavor and it actually only takes about 30 minutes to make. We're going to start by slicing 2 large onions into thin strips, and don't worry if you cry, I definitely did. It's important to slice your onions like this because that's what gives it that characteristic appearance. Mushrooms are the next thing. I used baby bellas here. You can chop them yourself or buy them pre-sliced from the store. I like to use a Dutch oven, but any kind of soup pot will do here. Heat up some olive oil in your pot and then add your sliced onions and let them get nice and brown. Add a little salt once they're all in there and make sure the salt is evenly dispersed. But making sure the onions are nice and golden isn't a step you really want to rush. Make sure that they're over medium heat and toss them around so that they get evenly coated. It's going to take a little bit of time here, but really don't rush the process. While the onions are cooking and getting nice and golden brown, you're going to want to chop up some shallots and some garlic and set them aside so that you're ready for the next step. Once they're nice and golden, this is the opportunity that you're going to want to add the shallots and the garlic, and I forgot to record it here, but I also added the mushrooms in at this step as well. Now it's going to be really important to make sure you add more salt at this point in the process. The salt is really going to help draw out some of the water that's in the mushrooms, so you really get a lot more of that flavor. Now you can see here we've got the mixture of the onions, the mushrooms, and the garlic, and the shallots. Now we're going to season it with some warm spices like cumin, paprika, and chili powder to add a little bit of a kick, but definitely a lot of flavor. Your kitchen should be smelling amazing by now. Definitely, once again, add a little bit more salt to make those flavors pop. You might be thinking that, wow, I've added a lot of salt, but you're actually supposed to add salt throughout the cooking process, and we're only adding a little bit at a time. Plus, you also have to remember that we are salting the entire dish, and you're only eating a small serving at a time. Now, I messed up a little bit here, and I definitely should have added the wine at this point to help deglaze the pan, but instead I added the vegetable stock. So if you make this recipe, make sure you add the red wine before you add the stock. But you can go ahead and add the stock now. Once again, I'm using vegetable stock, but traditional French onion soup uses beef broth. I was a little short on how much stock I wanted to use, so I just added a little bit of water, and I'll make that up with some extra spice. But here's where I added the red wine. Definitely add it before, but it's not too much of a big deal if we add it right afterwards, because at this point the soup is about to simmer for about 30 minutes, so the alcohol should flash off. While that's simmering, make your crostinis. All you need for this is sliced bread, like a French bread, and some mozzarella cheese. Do a taste test on your soup and make sure it tastes delicious, as I'm sure it will, just before you're about to get ready to serve it. Oven and check on our crostinis, and we have them under the broiler and they are gooey and bubbling. Now, a normal French onion soup or traditional French onion soup, you would put this in a crock and then put the bread and cheese on top. But here we don't have oven-proof crocks, but I still really want to enjoy the soup. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting the toasted bread and cheese over the bowl of soup, and this way I get to enjoy it without having to have an extra additional purchase. Definitely see if you can use a stale bread if possible. I love this recipe that it's so budget friendly, really only takes a couple of really key ingredients, and it's so easy to make, and I hope you try it and enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Can't wait to see you for the next recipe.